Welcome to the business model module. Here are the contents. We will begin with the software increasing returns. Let's look at software as a business. Now, in software business, you have different types of capital investment. So the main capital investment is on development costs. And development costs here is for software engineering, project management, UX design, quality assurance, and business analytics. However, in a software, it's unlike physical companies like manufacturing of cars, which contains investment for factory, raw materials, and as well as design and other factors, supply chain. So software is easier to develop and replicate once you get the capital development cost settled. So if you look at Toyota, which is a physical car, the margin is only 1,200, whereas a Tesla, the profit per vehicle is 9,570. Tesla is an EV, and it contains services as well, which is part of its software for autonomous driving. So if you look at that, the break-even cost for a software, once the development is accounted for, the rest are variable costs, the operations, the growth costs, less than maybe a physical companies, car manufacturing companies such as Toyota. So if you look at the gross profit, is the revenue minus the cost of goods and services, which is COGS. So what are the variable costs? In software, you also need to maintain and host. So a lot of the issue is the cloud part on hosting as well as the licensing. And in certain types of software where you need a lot of customer support and building community and social enterprise or social media type of services, you may require different types of operating costs. Now, in the age of AI, where you have licenses that you need to pay for ChatGPT and the likes of that LLM, and the clouds has gone, cost of clouds have gone up. Don't forget the growth costs. You need to continue to lead in your product so that you can adapt to existing competition as well as other customer needs. So you need to do R&D. Let's review how software returns works. Unlike a lot of physical product, in software there is three major laws here: network effect, cost of switching, and market leader. Let's look at network effect. In network effect, software can go viral very quickly, and there is a lot of communication using electronics that makes it easier to do. So by having more people use your product, once it's being used, you can build community, and it builds on top of each other, and this community crowdsourcing helps increase the usage of your product and the viral effect of it being distributed. The second part is the cost of switching. Once a enterprise or somebody uses your software, they would have learned to use your software. So the knowledge that they have, the barrier to use your software has reduced. So by using your onboarding and allowing your system to be easily used, creating value as quick as possible makes it easier. So once a company enterprise has invested in the infrastructure and knowledge to use your product, the cost of switching to a different product is usually high, and that is a barrier or an obstacle for companies to switch to another software. If it's not broken, don't change it. Lastly, because of communication and reputation, once your company has a trust as a market leader, it is a advantage brand that can be used, and this advantage is something that can help your software goes viral as well. However, it's not a sure thing. So let's look at an example. So in the past, for spreadsheet, there used to be Lotus 123. For browser, there used to be Netscape. For editor, there used to be WordStar. These are previous market leader that were working very well. However, they've been toppled by companies that uses a different business model, particularly Microsoft. Microsoft uses the bundling business model, and in the bundling business model, they bundle all their products together. And even though each of their product may not be the market leader, by bundling it and selling it at a cheaper price overall, it has certain advantages in this business model. However, even though bundling business model is a very effective business model, it is not it's not a sure thing. There are ways to chip away that business model. For example, you can see there are best of its kind growth-led products such as Slack, Notion, and Canva that are chipping away the Microsoft Teams, Microsoft Loops, and Designer. So market leader like Microsoft will need to continuously invest in their growth in order to sustain its market lead. At different stages of your product life cycle, there are different types of financial requirements that you need to look at. So in the beginning, in your introduction of your product, the upfront development cost is quite expensive, and this expense depend a lot on what type of company you're working on. So in the introduction, there's heavy investment. For example, OpenAI, going through LLM. A lot of EV car companies, they need to invest a lot, and they are very expensive. Private hire, you need to get market share as well as e-commerce as well. So this investment can come from an angel investor such as Elon Musk, or a capital wealth private equity, or you can try to get it from friends, family, and fools. Most of the time though, a smaller company, they would be the founder, and the founder will work for free, and that is your introduction investment. And a lot of this happens in the university when they are starting out, and you do a project like this class, and you gain traction, and you find market fit, and so on. Now, when you go into the growth, you need to get market share, and crossing the chasm to reach a market share requires you to recoup some of these initial investment costs. So you charge usually for an upfront fee, and a lot of these could be things such as the license to use your product, like a game. You pay for a game, or you pay for Photoshop when you begin, and so on. So even though you want growth, and some companies' business model is to give it for free to gain traction and all that, you still need to survive. You need to sustain. And if you don't have heavy investment, and you don't have a strong financial backing, this can be a moat that can kill off a lot of competitors. So you can see how unfair sometimes it can be if you don't have a strong financial standing. Now, once you reach a certain maturity, you want to sustain your cash cow. So instead of paying upfront fee for a license such as Photoshop, Photoshop has changed their licensing into a subscription-based periodical payment, where you pay like every year, or every 2 years, or every 6 months, depending on. And even games uses this kind of subscription, and you now have a company that has heavy capital, and they can continue to invest. And this is not only in software, it's also in R&B, F&B, retail, is also in clothing manufacturing, heavy capital type of products such as design machines for chips and so on. Now, every product will eventually has a dead time, a decline, and a competition will come in, or some other game changer will change the landscape, and you would need to pivot and continue to compete in the other market, or you will lose out, such as company like Nokia, or be bought away. Next, we will cover business model canvas. What is a business model? It is a rationale of how an organization creates, delivers, and captures value. Now, this value can be captured by interacting with suppliers, customers, and partners, and there are different ways of doing that. We're going to look into it through this table. There are creators, distributors, leasers, and brokers. This is how you interact with different groups. And these are done through different domains of product: financial, physical, intangible products, and human themselves. So let's look at some of these examples. So a simple one, let's begin with financial. Your cash, your asset is you are the creator of these cash assets, and as a distributor, you collect cash and assets that are given to you from the investors, and you sell them, ETFs and bonds. And then a leaser is somebody who can loan you money, like a bank or a money lender. And a broker is somebody who manages this marketplace for different types of loans and investors and people who needs that, and you get interest and you make money out of it. So it's the same thing in physical. It could be goods, could be a cabinet, a chair, a car, widgets, and you as a retail, you will sell iPhone, and as a physical leaser, you are the landlord. So you have an app store, and your app store can be used to distribute items for different types of apps. And and there are marketplace, there are ad locations, there are websites that allow people to do gig work and so on. So look at the different examples that's in the table. Let's begin with the creator. You are a songwriter, Aerosmith, and you wrote a bunch of fantastic songs, and let's see how you make money out of those.
Did you know all 4 members of Aerosmith are worth more than $100 million? Didn't have to sing a single song, sell a t-shirt, go on the road. It was this one thing, Guitar Hero. The band brilliantly licensed 25 of their songs to Activision. When Guitar Hero became one of the biggest video games out there, Aerosmith made more than $25 million in the first launch. That quickly became $100 million plus. They understood that the ability for a game to create something once and sell it continuously would make them way richer than them having to go on the road and take on all the expenses. The moral of this story is, if you have something and you can find a way to apply licensing to it where other people can push out your product instead of having you be the only distributor, that's how you make money while not having to do the work. Aerosmith now is one of the highest ranking bands of all time, despite being here on the charts. That's nowhere near the top. And Steven Tyler, he's worth more than 150 million. Some say 200 million. Thanks, Guitar Hero.
So this is a way to make money. If you are a singer, and the traditional way is to go on tour and sing in all these different cities, and it can be very taxing, and the Steven Tyler is smart enough to look at how software make money, and licensing is one good way of doing it in a game. So it's fantastic. Of course, this is not the only way, and it's not necessarily the best way. So you look at Taylor Swift, she goes on tour and she sells it for really expensive, a few $100s for each of her shows, and it goes in big giant arena, and you can make billions out of it as well. So now let's look at you as a leaser, you don't even have to be a creator. You don't have to own license to the product that you have. So let's hear this
DoorDash
one.
delivers you food but owns no kitchens. Uber gets you a ride but owns no cars. eBay sells you products but owns no inventory. Airbnb gives you a place to stay but owns no properties. Robinhood lets you trade stocks but owns no securities. Spotify streams your music but owns no record labels. You don't need to own it to profit from it. Just connect the dots.
So here you can see you don't even have to have license to own the create. You don't have to be the creator. You can be the leaser. You can be the one who provide the temporary rights to use the system by being the distributor itself, the DoorDash, the Uber, the eBay, the Airbnb, the Robinhood, and the Spotify. Let's take a step back and look at the 4 archetypes: the creator, distributor, leaser, and broker. And let's look at it from the point of a social media. The creator is the content creator, the person who goes out and do all the dance, or do all the talk, the reviews and everything, and create this piece of video that is the content. We sometimes call them the influencer. Then there's the distributor, the person who allows you to see all this content in their platform. It could be Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, Pinterest, and so on. Now, the leaser are the one who actually gives you the right to see this by temporarily having license to this product, the content from the creator, and passing it to you. And again, this could be the Facebook. So some of these platforms are also the leaser. Video, YouTube, WordPress, AWS, cloud, and so on. These are the ones who so sometimes you don't even know who are the creator or the distributor. You just get it from the leaser. So these are OEMs that comes from there. And lastly, there is somebody who broker all these things that allows you to see everything in between. So let's play this video and see how TikTok changed the way it becomes a distributor, completely disrupt other.
Well, then TikTok comes along and they say, hey, forget the social graph. This thing is not that efficient. We're going to determine the efficiency. We're going to program every single piece of content so that it has the lowest cost for us and the highest engagement in terms of ROI. And we're going to basically instrument maximum revenue for the platform. And so I think what platforms are realizing is that this is actually just like a much more efficient business model for them. And not only that, the social graph, as I said, is completely commoditized. Now, every social product that comes out can instantly have a social graph just by ingesting your contacts list. So you and I meet on the street somewhere. You say, hey, Mike, what's your phone number? I give you a text. Now I'm in your contacts. You sign up for Be Real or some other new social platform, and boom, they have your social graph already. So the thing that Facebook built 15 years ago that was so defensible and so unique at the time is just not that unique anymore, and it's a bad means of content distribution.
So understand which archetype you are in, which of these 4 archetypes you are in, and who are your competitors from that archetype, and you can have a better idea of your product. A good way to understand your business model is to use a business model canvas. In a business model canvas, you can see on the screen, it shows you the middle part, which is the value proposition. Remember, value proposition, you have the value map and you have the customer segment. So the right hand side of this canvas, you see the customer relationship, the channels, the customer segment you're looking at, and the revenue stream that you get out of these customers. On the left hand side, you have to understand where your product, your cost of goods comes from, where you're going to sell, which creates the value that you have put in your value map. So these are through your key partners, your activities, your resources, and your cost structure. By creating this business model canvas, you get more detailed about how your business model works. And when you have a big company, you need all the details here. So this is a template, an empty one, where you can work on your project with putting things in here. So let's look at an example. Costco is a retail company, a wholesale company in the US. It's very popular. It's not here in Singapore, but it's also around the world. It's in China, it's in Japan and Europe and many different places. So what is its value proposition? Its value proposition is high quality product at a low price. How does it create that low price? Well, it has volume. It bulk purchase lots of stuff, and it's just like Walmart and Target. It knows how to negotiate with the distributors and the product manufacturers, and it gets low price, volume price, bulk price. And then it tries to sell it very, very low price to its member. And these are not just hot dogs, pizzas, and their groceries, and they even have furnitures, television, and if you go to some of these, they even sell vacation, they even sell coffin. I've seen one with coffin as well. So not only that, they have their own brand, Kirtland. So if they can't find something that you can get value from, they will have their own Kirtland. So there are a lot of data in here. So you can see the key partners are logistics, investors, payment, even payment companies, buy now, pay later, and even real estate. And the key resource of its initial money is membership. So it makes 70 million members in the US, and that gives them $33 billion from its warehouse that it leases to its franchisee. And this renewal is from its membership is 92%. It has 859 stores, and in each of these stores you can buy hot dogs for $1.50, and you can buy a whole pizza for $9.90. Really good. We went there, eat there. They're fantastic pizza. And a major drive is gas. Energy gas in US is very expensive, and you can see a lot of cars. They come in and they do all those things in one stop. They fill up their tank, they buy their monthly, weekly groceries. Unlike some place here, a lot of the US, they do shopping once a week or once a month, and they do all these things. So this business model canvas helps you, if you are a big company, to try to see where in your canvas that you are having a gap and you need to improve. Software as a service or product continuum. So when we talk about software as a service, we are talking not as a SaaS, software as a service. We are talking about you as a developer providing a software as a service. You are developing the software to the customer as a service. So this will be less upfront cost because you don't give them a software product yet. You give them your time as your service so that you can develop and customize the software for them. Versus you have developed the product, and your product now is the software, and you are selling the product to them. And this can be sold as a upfront cost, one-off, or can be sold as a subscription base. So you are selling software as a service or platform as a service kind. So if you look at the differences, the software business is low risk, less upfront costs, and you just go in, you customize everything, you get paid by the time that you have, but you only get paid for that service that you provide. However, if you have a product which you need to spend a lot of time and upfront cost is high, and you need to build it without recouping that upfront cost. But then once you have the product, you can package it, you can sell it, you can license it, you can keep selling it again, and you can keep upgrading it. So you don't just sell your time as a customization, but you sell the licensing of that product. And the table here shows you the focus, the price calculation, the KPI, and the market valuation. So the service low low risk, you're selling very high customized, and is your time and it's hard to scale. Whereas the product is higher risk, but the returns is also higher because you can sell it in multiple sense. You don't just sell it to one person. You can go viral and multiply it. Next, we talk about the revenue model. So what's the business revenue model? Let's first look at the 4 columns here. You can distribute your software in different ways. You can be on premise, such as the old Microsoft Office, they sell them in a box, not the 365. Then you have the cloud, which is the 365 or the Amazon, the Dropbox, and Netflix. And you can also be a hybrid that sell both versions of it. The box version and the cloud version as well. Now, your source code license can be proprietary, such as Windows, iTunes, McAfee, or it can be open source. And this open source has certain advantages to it, and we will discuss that later. So Ubuntu, OpenOffice, and so on. Now, our focus more is on the revenue and growth. There are various types. There are licensing type that sells just one license, such as Minecraft. Or there are various freedom model. And freedom models, they can make money out of advertising or in-app purchase, or you have sponsors, and those are real freedom models that are paid differently. And these are Facebook, Twitter, and so on, advertisers and so on. And then you have the subscription. The subscription can be free, or it can be usage as well, pay per usage. So MailChimp, Adobe Cloud, Netflix, and so on. Or it can be transaction-based like Airbnb. Now, how do you interact can be one-to-many, such as Microsoft to all the consumers. So it will be B2C. Or it can be many-to-many. And the many-to-many can be various kind cloud-based, so you can have a content creator, social media that are consumed by the consumer, and you are the platform that do that. There's also a C2C, consumer to consumer as well, and that is part of the business model. We'll cover some of this. So open source software is a movement, and this range from a volunteer, completely free, altruistic type of let's improve the world, to a more sustainable for-profit types of company. So the original open source came from the idea that complex software such as operating system and enterprise type of software are difficult to build, especially when there's a dominant player that can kill off small companies and reduce competition very quickly. So the idea of an open source says you can now use the free software and you can improve on it, and this improvement would help you drive the movement of the whole complexity down by everybody debugging and building on top of each other's source code. So this goes from Linux, Apache, MySQL, VLC, Llama, Falcon, Apache, and even the DeepSeek LLM, stuff like that. So there are certain ways of making money out of this. So for example, you can sell subscription services to help you maintain or customize a free version of the Red Hat, Fedora, or you can sell the open source free version and then have an enterprise version that you sell. Similarly, MySQL is the same. There is a free version that a lot of us students use and education use. And then if you want to scale further and optimize, you have an enterprise version. And of course, earlier we discussed there are altruistic people who are software engineers who work for free. They volunteer. They believe in this movement. They want to have a improvement of certain software, and they think the enterprise or software should be free, and they sustain somewhere else, or they sell merchandise or get donation or foundation supports them. We will review the business revenue model. We'll start with the free version of the revenue model. Then we will talk about the paid version. And after we look at all the different types of free and paid versions of revenue model, we will look at examples. So let's begin with the free. Freeware is no charge. This can be open source. You've seen this with Adobe Rider, Flash Player, and VLC and all that. So some of these are just trialware demos. They have a trial period and then it goes off unless you pay, or it has a limited restricted version where you have only 3 projects or 10 concurrent users at the same time. Some, they make money out of adware, and be careful about this because some of these are malware, they contain virus, or they collect information, and the information they collect means you are the product. And if you are the product, you will collect your behavior, your email, your personal data. It may even ask you to do certain things that will be valuable for them, such as reviewing restaurants, maps, storing your photos in your emails. It can scan through them, and they collect information in there, so that if you type something with a refrigerator in it, and then they would give you an advertisement of a refrigerator, and hopefully you will buy those things. Okay, so open source, we discussed their tiered version, and there are services with that you can buy subscription for different calls for customization and so on. That's one way of making money out of that. There are also versions that lead to payment, and we call this freemium. So the idea here is they want you to use it. They want you to see the value in it first, and this usually help them with the growth. There are different versions of this model. It can be free for a limited time, or they can be restricted free and so on. So it can be a huge game portal as well, a massive game, and it gets viral and a lot of people come and use them. And then if you want to win, you can buy certain weapons for more money, or you want to show off your avatar, you can buy tokens and so on. And this in-app purchase also can use their own money, and this money that they use cryptos, which is the beginning of coins that you can see now in financial terms. So remember, there is always a objective behind, and you need to understand if you are the software, you can take advantage of this, or you can be taken advantage of. Paid version can be transaction-based, commission-based, can be markup, affiliate, or even interest investment-based paid. So transaction can be one-time license, can be free and then tiered price, can be pay as you use them, or subscription recurring type like Adobe Photoshops and so on. Commission can be a flat rate commission, every time you pay using Nets, or can be a percentage such as Stripe, or it can be tiered version depending on what membership you are. Markup is bulk purchase such as hotels and even Costco. Just in time when you go on a trip, you can look at cloak or flights. You can pay it differently. Affiliate is pay per lead, pay per sales, pay per impressions. These are all different types of affiliate based. Interest, you are using a wallet, you deposit certain things there, you don't get the interest, so they make money out of your how much assets they're managing, and they get interest out of that. We're going to look at 3 examples. We're going to look at Google, we're going to look at Candly, and we are going to look at Costco.
Google Photos, potentially one of the most strategic products ever launched, because it allowed Google to collect the world's largest library of photos ever assembled. And that's how they were able to train their early vision models and so on.
Sorry, I wasn't aware of this. They're able to use the photos that you collect in Google Photos for their training models?
Yeah, presumably.
What worries me also with the freemium models, honestly, and the kind of the cohort of startups we have today is you have the cost structure of enterprise startups. You have SDRs, you have AEs, you have CS teams, you have this very bloated kind of org structure, and then you have the price points of freemium, and we have no knowledge that they upsell efficiently, we have no knowledge of like large ACVs at the end of the rainbow, and so you have this inflated cost base and this small ACV with freemium, and it just doesn't work.
No, and honestly, a lot of those companies are also like they're building for scale that they're never going to reach.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of opportunity to just do scrappy and small, and also to price reasonably, because some of these things just get too expensive and then it's too easy to throw you away. So something like Calendly, which I see a lot of people use and love, Google rolls out a new feature and suddenly Calendly is gone.
And so, I mean, it's a $3 to $5 billion company.
It is, but the risk of that is quite big, right? I mean, Calendly, when I no longer pay for it, but when I used to pay for it, it cost me more than my Google Workspace account. And I was like, why did these pricings don't match?
Costco is the retailer that found a way to get its customers to pay for the privilege of shopping there year after year. They have 55 million fiercely loyal households with a 90% renewal rate, and each membership costing a minimum of $60 a month. They intentionally have the lowest markups in the industry to attract and keep members, but the real money is in membership fees, which all drops down to the bottom line as profit. They use a treasure hunt strategy very similar to IKEA and rotate their stock frequently to drive impulse purchases. And they keep their members with crazy good prices on everything from food, eyewear, and even fuel. And they use their large member base to negotiate even better deals with suppliers and drive costs down even more for their members. And this is the story of how Costco became the third largest retailer, only after Amazon and Walmart.
So we're going to cover all these three in class. So review them and see how they work and or not work. Okay, bundling software is a model where you try to sell a bunch of products together at a cheaper price than if you sell them individually. So this will generate more sales on average, and it helps you deal with also scaling, save on marketing, distribution, and simplify the customer experience by grouping the product together. So this can be cheaper than upselling, which can be a very expensive version that are part packaged in together and also cross-selling across. And we can see a lot of this in Microsoft Office and Google product and Kakao and so on. And you reach a scale, a holy grail scale we call the super app. And this came a lot from China because they started off as a social media, and in the social media they start giving them e-commerce where they can buy things like TikTok. You now can buy things, and then they have payment in there, and then payment can be used with crypto, and then you can also call for a ride, delivery, chatting, and even dating, and also booking things and playing games in there. So China is they have a way to close the internet. So Facebook and some other apps are not being used because the firewall in China allow them to build their own internal companies until they are so big. And this holy grail is also what the US company hopes to get, because if you live within that ecosystem, you are now unbeatable, and it's almost impossible to break them because they have so much moat that nobody can even penetrate. So how do you deal with them? The only way is the government. The government can use the Competitive Act because you are a monopoly, and when you are a monopoly, you did not create enough competition for other participants to come in, and there are people, consumers trying to break big companies because they are for profit, and those for profit becomes a greedy thing, and it becomes a vicious cycle. The razor blade business model came from Gillette, which is a company that sells you razor blade. And how it works is they sell you the razor blade with the handle itself very cheap, the first version you use. And then if you want to buy a additional razor blades, you have to pay, and that razor blade costs more money. Now, of course, they try to make it so that you can't buy a third-party razor blade and put it onto your Gillette razor blade. And this is copied by copiers like HP printers, Canon and all that. They sell you the first version that comes with the ink, and the ink is very cheap. You can only print 100. The total thing with that ink is like, just as cheap as if you buy a full version of the ink. And the ink that comes later, of course, is more expensive, but you can print a lot more. And there is a reverse version of this razor blade. So what happens here is the upfront thing is expensive. So it's like iPhone or Amazon product that you have. And then the individual app or the free apps that you can get inside are the services that you have. This reverse razor blade works usually only if you already have a ongoing platform or a ecosystem that people know there are free apps out there, free books out there that they can get from the upfront, expensive upfront versus the other one, which is the cheap upfront. The reverse razor blade is similar to a bundle thing, but here the bundle comes later. The free part comes later. You pay up all these things first.
Xbox lose money on this to make a profit on this. Costco loses money on this to make a profit on this. McDonald's lose money on this to make a profit on this. Cinemas lose money on this to make a profit on this. Gillette lose money on this to make a profit on this. And HP lose money on this to make a profit on this. The real money isn't in what gets you through the door. It's in what keeps you coming back.
So you can see if this is a business model for your system. Make things cheap is good for growth, and then you make money from the other parts. Let's look at several examples. This is Uber. It is a cloud-based proprietary software that is transaction revenue model, many-to-many, B2B, B2C, C2C as well. Adobe Cloud is a hybrid version. You can get subscription as well as on-premise. It's proprietary software, subscription-based, and it's one-to-many to the customer, B2C. Red Hat is an open source, subscription-based, one-to-many. The trend currently is for cloud, proprietary, free model or subscription-based, one-to-many and many-to-many. You can use this empty one to identify where your project lies. This section will go in depth into a case study. We will look at MailChimp. The objective here is for you to compare this to your current project that you are proposing. So understand your project proposal and try to see how you fit in, just like how MailChimp fits in here. Ben Chestnut started off MailChimp as a part-time side hustle. He actually has a job. So let's listen to what he do with his.
It was an accidental kind of a business. We built it for just a couple of our customers who were having problems sending out email newsletters. Our real business was doing web design. We built it on the side, and it kind of got annoying to log in and use it on behalf of our customers. So we just made it self-serve. We just said, you log in, you use it, and pay with a credit card, because we're tired of cashing the checks. And it just started to grow organically. But we never took it seriously. We just focused on our web design business. And I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years went by. One day I caught this episode. I think my wife was watching Oprah. And I'm working at home and I'm coding away at some website, and there's a guest on Oprah. He's talking about passive income, recurring revenue, and all that kind of stuff. And it was the first time I had ever heard about anything like that. And so I stopped coding and I listened and I said, this guy's onto something. And I just started thinking, should I get into real estate? What kind of recurring revenue business can I do? Meanwhile, MailChimp's sitting here making recurring revenue, by the way. I'm like, what should I do? What could be the next business? And then, it hit us. Wait, we've got this MailChimp thing on the side, and we color coded the revenue from MailChimp versus the revenue from our agency, and MailChimp was growing and our agency was flat and kind of declining. That was all we needed to say. Let's stop the agency business and let's focus on MailChimp.
Here's the business model canvas for MailChimp. The mass market that they are targeting, the convenience that they provide with the reporting that they allow you to do. So if you are SMEs, you can send mails to your customer quickly, and it's good for business development, self-service, automated. It's a cloud-based system on the mobile as well. And the key players are the e-commerce, CRM, WordPress, and it's proprietary software they have, and they minimize the cost for you as a SME to send information, customer relationship, to marketing to your customer, and the revenue is in a tiered freedom model, which we will cover later. So it's cloud, proprietary, subscription, one-to-many, B2B. And here are the subscription. You can be free forever, 2,000 subscriber, and you just pay $15 if you want 3 users using the MailChimp. Standard is 25. You go up to a business level, you get 420. You get multivariant testing, which is stuff we cover in IDP, and you can also get referral badge, and you get credit for that. And there are competitors now, so they are not the only ones. Hopefully you will come out with a MailChimp side hustle from the project you do in this class, and maybe, who knows, one day this side hustle will make more money than your job with your GovTech or your JP Morgan or your Tesla or DBS that you work with. And just remember me, okay? So now let's look at how Dropbox was offered to pay by Apple, 800 million, and now they are worth more.
Dropbox was scaling like crazy. We were scaling virally because we had this freemium model where people would spread Dropbox. And so we got the attention of all the big platform companies, and we were invited to come down and meet Steve. And it was, I mean, I remember like Arash and I jump in a zip car from our apartment in San Francisco, and we're like driving down to One Infinite Loop in Cupertino, and you walk in and you're like, we're here to see Steve Jobs. And they're like, have a seat. We go in the boardroom, and Steve comes in, and he like starts his pitch. He's like, hey, you guys should, we're like a startup with infinite resources, and you should really throw in with us, and here's why. We were having a great time building the company for a lot of reasons. We were just like, we admire everything that Apple's done. We'd love to find any way to work together, but we're having a great time building this company independently. And I'm like, I'm sure you understand. I don't think he loved that response. He's like, you're a feature, not a product. You don't have distribution. You don't have this or that. You don't control the operating system. And I was like, all right, agree to disagree. Because, I mean, every pair of companies has this issue, too. Like, Apple controls Apple stuff, but they don't control Google stuff. They don't control Microsoft stuff, and vice versa. And that dynamic is exactly why Dropbox exists in the first place, is that you need a way to go across all the platforms. It was intense. Like, the story, that was like 2009. But to see like Steve on stage in 2011, at WWDC, launching iCloud, calling us out by name, that was just the beginning of a whole competitive period where, we're just sort of drafted up to the big leagues and fighting with not just Apple, but Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Facebook, and then, a raft of other companies in our space. So you get sort of your hazing ritual.
So be careful who you choose as your friends and your enemies, and it is very difficult in a startup in IT to attend a talk like this from Steve Jobs, and you can brush off nicely or really bad, and your enemies, and they could try to kill you off, and they could do many things. So be careful, but have fun while you're doing all this. This is the summary.